Right now, above our heads, the biggest race in human history is unfolding. After 50 years of strange silence, major powers and private corporations have suddenly thrown all their resources at conquering the moon. We're watching full expansion and the construction of the first city beyond Earth. Elon Musk and his company, SpaceX, have become the main players. His Starship was designed to erase the boundary between Earth and space, making a flight to the moon no more complicated than crossing the Atlantic. While skeptics search for the catch, engines are already roaring at launch sites in Texas. Engineers are finishing blueprints for the first lunar quarters and factories. Humanity is stopping being tied to one planet. This transformation begins in the deep, dark craters of the moon's south pole. Elon Musk's main tool stands 120 meters tall, made of steel, and can launch and return to Earth intact. Starship was designed to carry hundreds of tons of cargo into space. SpaceX engineers rejected expensive materials and switched to stainless steel, which withstands extreme loads. The engines run on methane and oxygen, making each launch significantly cheaper than traditional kerosene rockets. After delivering cargo to space, the first stage lands back softly for immediate preparation for the next flight. This approach makes each kilogram of delivered weight tens of times more affordable. Without such savings, building a city on another world would remain just a dream. The most important stage happens in orbit before the ship heads to the moon. Even a giant like Starship spends almost all its fuel just breaking free from Earth's gravity. To move further, it needs to meet with a tanker ship waiting in space like a gas station on a highway. Dozens of dockings and fuel transfers in weightless conditions will become routine. Engineers learning to transfer fuel between ships without losses keeps the path to the moon open for regular transportation of any scale. Musk is betting on mass production of these tankers to create a real transport artery between Earth and its satellite. For lunar operations, a separate version of the ship was designed. The lunar Starship has no wings or heat shield because it doesn't need to return through Earth's atmosphere. Engineers added special engines for soft landing, so powerful flame jets won't destroy the landing pad. The ship serves as both transport and the first temporary home for astronauts. Inside are spacious living zones, allowing long shifts without immediate return. Huge windows in the upper hull will become humanity's first eyes observing the birth of a new world. For a long time, space development was the exclusive business of huge government departments with endless budgets. But the rules changed when Elon Musk intervened with his bold approach. NASA realized that private business could move much faster than unwieldy bureaucratic structures. The Artemis program was born with the goal of creating permanent presence on the moon, not just a quick return visit. SpaceX received the first major contracts, becoming a key link. The state provides scientific base and financing, while Musk's team takes on the role of main space carrier. The loudest event was the official selection of Starship as the main vehicle for landing people on the surface. Many experts didn't believe a government agency would trust astronauts' lives to an innovative system still being tested. Nevertheless, the giant steel ship won the competition, surpassing proposals from the country's oldest aviation giants. Competitors offered small, cramped capsules, reminiscent of last century's technology, while Musk proposed a flying skyscraper. This NASA decision became a clear signal to the world that the era of disposable rockets had finally passed. The first steps toward building a city will begin with unmanned missions that must confirm safety of each stage. Empty ships will practice soft landing in automatic mode so engineers can verify system reliability. After successful tests comes delivery of heavy equipment that will become the framework for the future settlement. Robots, solar panels, and drilling rigs will fly to the moon long before the first builder arrives. Each delivery will increase stocks of necessary resources and pave the way for full residential modules. Musk plans to flood the satellite's surface with useful cargo so that by the time people arrive, basic infrastructure is already functioning. Choosing the site for the future city became the most important task. Elon Musk and his team of scientists fixed their gaze on the south pole of the satellite, previously considered a deadly and inaccessible place. This region represents a chaotic pile of rocks and deep chasms where the landscape hasn't changed for billions of years. The strategic significance lies in a unique combination of natural conditions impossible to find anywhere else. While equatorial zones roast under scorching sun or freeze in 2 weeks of night shadow, at the pole there's a different battle of temperatures. The interests of all the world's space agencies intersect here, turning the satellite's southern tip into the most expensive real estate in the solar system. Musk understands that control over this section will give his company an undeniable advantage. Whoever establishes themselves first on these grey hills will dictate the rules to all other players. The main treasure hidden at the South Pole are mysterious craters of eternal shadow where solar rays haven't reached since the moon's birth. In these deep wells reigns absolute cold that has turned ordinary water ice into stone as hard as granite. Scientists discovered enormous reserves of frozen water, which is the key to human survival in vacuum. Water is needed for drinking, growing plants, and as a basis for creating rocket fuel right on site. Learning to extract this resource and split it into components will turn the moon into a giant refueling station for Starship vessels. Missions won't need to drag every liter of liquid from Earth, which will massively reduce the cost of life beyond our planet. Right next to these ice traps are the peaks of eternal light, which will become the energy heart of the lunar city. Due to the satellite's axis tilt, the tops of local peaks are almost always illuminated by the sun, allowing energy collection without breaks for the long lunar night. Elon Musk plans to deploy entire fields of solar panels on these heights that will power residential modules and ice processing plants. This natural anomaly relieves colonists from needing complex nuclear reactors in the first stages of development. The neighborhood of eternal darkness with water deposits and eternal light with endless energy makes the South Pole an ideal oasis in a dead desert. Building on the moon can't be compared to any construction on Earth because every brick brought from home costs a fortune. Elon Musk understands that importing materials across millions of kilometers is a dead end, so his plan relies on using what already lies underfoot. Lunar regolith, ordinary grey dust and crumbs covering the satellite's surface, becomes the main resource. Special robotic 3D printers will collect this dust, process it, and turn it into durable construction material to protect future buildings. Robots will begin erecting thick walls and domes right on top of residential containers, creating reliable shell from deadly radiation and meteorite impacts. These automatic builders will work around the clock while the first people are still on the way. The first residential modules will become real islands of life in lifeless vacuum, where the slightest crack in casing can lead to catastrophe. These hermetic capsules are designed to maintain Earth pressure and familiar air composition, allowing people to walk without heavy spacesuits. Inside, life support systems will work in a closed cycle where every drop of sweat and every breath is cleaned and reused. Musk is betting on compact but cozy spaces where work areas neighbor with rest places and small hydroponic farms. On these farms, fresh vegetables and greens will grow in artificial light, providing people with vitamins and helping restore oxygen supplies. Life inside such a module resembles being on a submarine beyond whose walls reigns absolute void and icy cold. Complete autonomy of the base is the final goal, without which the lunar city will forever remain an expensive toy. SpaceX engineers are developing installations for extracting oxygen directly from lunar rocks and from frozen ice in shadowy craters so the settlement doesn't depend on Earth's supplies. With powerful heaters and chemical reactions, water will be split, giving colonists air for breathing and hydrogen for refueling ship engines. The moon will turn into a real production complex that itself provides everything necessary for expansion and growth. Fuel produced on site will allow starships to return home or fly further to Mars, using the satellite as a huge space gas station. The foundation of any successful city has always been money and roads. The main lever Musk uses to realize his dream lies in radically reducing the cost of delivering each kilogram of cargo. In the past, launching a tiny satellite cost hundreds of millions of dollars, making any talk about building on the moon meaningless. Thanks to reusable use of huge steel ships, transportation costs fall to a level where delivering a ton of concrete or food to space becomes comparable to ordinary sea transport between continents. Musk plans to turn Starship into a real cargo ferry that will run between planets on schedule like an ordinary bus. Space transforms from an unattainable dream into a new economic zone where every invested dollar should bring benefit. The moon in this grand plan occupies the role of most important transfer point and giant refueling station on the long path to Mars. Due to weak gravity, taking off from the satellite is many times easier than tearing away from Earth with full tanks of heavy fuel. Musk's idea involves assembling huge interplanetary ships in Earth orbit, then refueling them with fuel produced right at lunar factories from local ice. Ships will make stops at lunar orbit or surface, replenish supplies, then head deep into the solar system. The lunar city becomes a gateway to the big world, not a final destination. The industrial potential and scientific tasks of the new settlement go far beyond simple survival. On the moon, there are no familiar winds and rains, allowing installation of unique telescopes and laboratories capable of peering into the most distant corners of the universe without atmospheric interference. Besides science, incredible possibilities open for creating new materials and medicines in low-gravity conditions. Lunar soil is rich in rare elements that can become the basis for a new energy revolution on Earth if their extraction becomes mass and streamlined. Every workshop and every laboratory in this city will work to make human presence outside the home planet not only possible, but profitable. Gradually, the base will transform from a scientific station into a real industrial center. Despite clear schedules and mathematical calculations, the moon continues to present surprises that stump even the most experienced SpaceX engineers. In areas of future development at the South Pole, sensors of automatic stations record unusual phenomena. Engineers face harsh physical conditions. Electrostatic discharges of lunar dust create interference for equipment. Sometimes sensitive instruments note weak magnetic disturbances and unusual thermal fluctuations in places where ice deposits are supposedly located. The heaviest test for future residents will be the invisible pressure of space on their own bodies, not the absence of air. Constant radiation and low gravity, 6 times weaker than Earth's, slowly change the human organism, washing calcium from bones and weakening muscles. Living in such conditions for a long time means entering a dangerous experiment on health, the consequences of which aren't fully studied. To physical loads is added a powerful psychological barrier arising from life in cramped, closed spaces without the ability to go outside. What exactly makes a private company invest billions of dollars and risk all assets for developing this cold rock? For Elon Musk, the moon represents a necessary insurance policy in case of global catastrophe, not just a quarry for extracting resources. The desire to make people an interplanetary species outweighs any financial risks. Behind the cold walls of ships and dry figures of reports hides fanatical faith that precisely this silent world will become the cradle of a new civilization. Gradually, what began as a tiny metal camp among grey rocks will begin turning into a real living organism with its own history and rules. Transformation of the moon from a cramped scientific station into a full city will become the most massive construction project people have ever undertaken. The era of temporary modules will give way to monumental architecture. Multi-story complexes buried in the landscape, whose facades printed from regolith have become a natural continuation of grey hills. In these walls will sound children's voices and appear the first schools. Industrial zones will work in rhythm with arrivals of huge cargo ships that will become the connecting link between two worlds. Elon Musk believes the moon will stop being perceived as a hostile desert and will become a new home for thousands of daredevils ready to exchange Earth comfort for the romance of pioneers. Becoming an interplanetary species, we stop depending on the whims of one planet and get a chance for infinite continuation of our kind. The lunar outpost will serve as the foundation for next jumps to distant horizons of Mars and the asteroid belt. Now, every person looking at the night sky will understand that those bright points are potential places for life, not just cold luminaries. Experience gained in craters of the South Pole will teach us to preserve resources and value every drop of water and breath of air. We're full residents of this mysterious territory that patiently waited for our return, no longer guests in space. The finale of this story isn't yet written, but the first step has already been taken, and there's no way back. If you had the chance to be among the first 1,000 people living on the moon, would you go? Knowing the risks, the isolation, the fact that you might never come back to Earth. Leave your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.